Hey guys, I wanted to do a video earlier, but Chloe had to be to work by 11 and just trying to. I got up at like a little after 7, just trying to wake up and got a pork loin in the oven, and it's ridiculously hot in here because it's hot outside. It's a miserable time to cook and use the oven, but oh well. Trying to make sure we have food for later, so. Anyway. Not much more development on the homestead front on anything really. We're still figuring out the cabins and the buildings and that kind of thing. What? Hang on, guys. Okay. So I've been working on the quilt. This is the second to the last section. I've got that much done of it so far. I haven't really been working much on that lately. We've been busy with a lot of other things, so trying to get ready for Elaine to come down and anyway, so hoping I can get a couple videos in here before I have to go to work. I have to be there at 2 to 10, straight through Wednesday, but then I have Thursday through the following Monday off. So can't wait. So anyway, should be down here on Thursday. Can't wait for that either. Alright, this is chapter 16 on dairy, milk, and more. And this chapter has some recipes in it, and I think I'm going to do a video for each recipe. So there's going to be a few videos on this chapter, a few little ones. Anyway, here we go. Milk and more. When we first acquired some milk goats, we were under the impression that the one goat who was lactating at the time would barely provide enough milk for us to use. We were very, very wrong. That goat produced half a gallon of milk a day, sometimes more. She was a good producer of milk, but not at all unusual. We drank as much milk as we could, but honestly, our family is not that into drinking milk. We cooked with it, added it to coffee, and eventually started freezing it. Milk can also be canned. After a time, we finally decided to start making cheese, butter, and yogurt. All three are more nutritious than milk alone and can be kept for longer periods of time without spoiling. While we went in unprepared, dairy turned out to be a big piece of our little homesteading puzzle. And I can't wait for us to be able to, have dairy goats and be able to get that milk and start making the cheese and the butter and the yogurt. I'm very much looking forward to that. All right, dairy standards. Raw milk sales are heavily regulated in the United States. Raw milk refers to unpasteurized milk. If you decide you want to start a dairy, even a small homestead dairy, you will have to purchase a pasteurizer and submit to an inspection. The regulations for a cheese-making dairy, a grade B dairy, however, are much more obtainable than that of a grade A dairy, which is required for actual milk sales. For more information on dairy standards, contact the USDA or your local cooperative extension office. Well, we're not going to be looking into that, so it's going to be just for our family. All right. At the time, most of the protein we produced came from eggs and beans. We were not calling chickens for meat. That came later. The caloric content of nearly everything we produced was relatively low. Most vegetables, for better or worse, do not have that many calories. Exceptions exist, potatoes, sweet potatoes, etc., of course. But if your goal is to produce calories on your property that can significantly sustain life, then you need something like dairy to provide those big calorie boosts. For us, that was goat's milk. A gallon of goat's milk contains more than 2,500 calories. The process of making cheese, yogurt, and butter concentrates the proteins, fats, and carbohydrates in milk, essentially by removing the water and using microbial and enzyme activity to make those calories more available. Also, as mentioned, cheese, butter, and yogurt store a lot longer than raw milk. And if you're able to sell your dairy products, these items fetch at premium a small batch. Artisanal cheese, butter, and yogurt are still hard to get, even in this modern do-it-yourself culture. If you don't have goats or sheep or cows or even buffalo, you can still grab some milk and a few supplies and start learning about how your food is made while picking up valuable skills in the process. Making cheese. The basics of cheese making are similar across the board. You take milk, add a catalyst to separate the milk, and then use live cultures to turn the curds into cheese. Technically, there are a lot more steps, but the broad strokes are there. I know when I first started making cheese, I was intimidated. The steps seemed long and overly complicated, and I was constantly terrified of messing up somehow. Really and truly, cheese is a bit hard to mess up. If you have the proper ingredients, you will wind up with cheese. To start, here are some basic terms to keep in mind. Curds and whey. When milk is separated into its basic forms, you'll get curds and whey. Curds consist of the fats, proteins, and many of the sugars that make up milk. Whey contains a few odd nutrients, but it is mostly water. The process is essentially what happens when milk curdles in the refrigerator, but when making cheese, you control how it happens. The curds are used to make actual cheese. The whey can be used as a nutritional supplement for your family, or it can be fed to your animals. Chickens love it. Rennet. Rennet is a group of enzymes produced naturally in the stomachs of ruminant animals, cows, sheep, and goats, etc. These enzymes are crucial in the production of cheese, as they allow the milk to curdle and promote the growth of the flavor-producing bacteria in your cheeses. Fresh and aged cheese. Fresh cheeses such as mozzarella, cream cheese, and cottage cheese aren't aged like cheddar or Gouda. Fresh cheeses are usually easier to make, but differ greatly in texture and taste. Good news for lactose intolerant. Properly aged cheese does not contain lactose, which means it can be consumed by people who suffer from lactose intolerance. The aging process consumes all the lactose in the cheese, rendering it safe for sensitive stomachs. The history of cheese. No one is entirely sure how or when humans started making cheese, but we do know that the production of cheese goes back more than 7,000 years. I'm not going to get into that. Cheese-making equipment dating back to that time was discovered in Poland. A theory exists that the process was discovered when early dairy farmers and herders used cow stomachs to store and transport milk, a common practice at this time. The bacteria that naturally occurs in the stomachs of cows is perfect for cheese making, which led to the milk-forming curds. Since cheese can be defined as curds plus salt, it's not that big of a leap to see how these early farmers started us on the path to cheesy goodness today. Right. Already read that one. Making yogurt. Yogurt as a milk product is tied directly into human civilization. Believed to have been produced in ancient Mesopotamia, yogurt has been a staple in diets all over the world ever since. Oddly enough, yogurt wasn't popularized in the United States until the early 1900s, when Dr. John Harvey Kellogg popularized the product as a treatment for nearly every disorder known at the time. He was particularly fond of prescribing yogurt enemas. Ew. While Kellogg was a bit of a kook by all accounts, it appears he may have been onto something. Modern research shows that the live bacteria in yogurt is beneficial to producing healthy fauna in the human digestive system. Yogurt is really easy to make. You can purchase yogurt cultures or just buy the yogurt you'd like to make and use it as a starter. However, make sure the yogurt you use as a starter is marked as containing live bacterial cultures. Alright. Making butter. Butter is one of my favorite things to make, and you'll find out why shortly. I love making butter as well. It's fun to make, and it's easy to make. Butter is the concentrated fat of milk. While butter was consumed all over the old world, it was really only popular as a food staple in the northern climates, as butter quickly goes rancid in warmer weather.
Absolutely.
Butter is made from the cream of milk, which is one of the reasons why cow's milk is so popular. Goat's milk is naturally homogenized, which means the butter fat must be separated before you can use it to make butter.
See? Oh, he didn't need any stitches. That's good. I'm going back to work. You're inside out. Your sweater, you've got it on inside out. Did the stop smelling?
Depending on your level of commitment to butter making, this may necessitate purchasing an expensive cream separator. You can, however, separate the cream from goat's milk by putting it in a shallow pan in the refrigerator and letting the cream rise to the top over a few days. As it does so, you can skim the cream from the top of the pan with a large spoon and put it in a separate container. Once you get 1 or 2 cups of cream, you can make butter. The process of making butter from cream is called churning. The churning process agitates the milk.
And Michael died from days.
The membranes of the globules of butterfat in the milk break during the agitation, allowing the particles to join with the other particles of butterfat. As the clumps of butterfat get bigger and bigger, they form butter. After churning long enough, the butter is removed from the milk. The leftover milk is called buttermilk and can be consumed or used for cooking. The butter is then rinsed, packed into a butter mold, and chilled until stiff. And that was it for that part of that chapter. And I will go ahead and get this up there, you guys. And that was on milk and more, and making cheese and yogurt and butter. And I will go ahead and get this up there, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.